ফোটে ফুল আপন সুখে ফোটে ফুল আপন সুখে কার ইশারা
Great wise people throughout the ages have said, the most precious thing there is in life is every moment that we have. The choices we make at each moment determine not only our experience, but our destination. He said, Frank and I are going on a trip to Europe. You must come. I said, all right, I'll go. We ended up in Luxembourg. And I remember we would sometimes think, should we go to Germany? Should we go to France? Should we go to Switzerland? Should we go to Spain? No, we should go to Morocco. We should go to England. And we decided we'll just stand on the side of the road and put our thumbs out to hitchhike, and wherever the driver was going that picked us up, that is where God wants us to be. Just a few days later, in our hitchhiking, we met some people. They put us up in their little apartment in Surbiton, England. Gary and I, from that point, we spent almost all of our time in museums, studying art to get spiritual symbolism. And going to synagogues, cathedrals, Franciscan monasteries, trying to put together the clues that would give us a real direction for a meaningful and real life. Switzerland, France, Holland, and eventually we were on an island in Greece. And it's a long story, but I had a calling. On the top of a mountain, praying, meditating, and reading books from sunrise to sunset. That day I was weeping for direction. And I heard 3 words. And when I heard those 3 words, I knew if I'd follow this calling, everything of my past is gone. And my whole life, everything will be new and dangerously challenging. Am I willing to do it? Those 3 words were go to India. I hitchhiked by a fishing boat to get to Athens. And I remember looking out at the sea. I was alone. I had nothing. And as the waves were tossing, I was wondering where destiny was going to toss me. Turkey, at the time, was going through a massive epidemic of cholera. And everyone told me, don't go. And he said there's a no-man's land of several kilometers between Greece and Turkey because we're enemies and our borders are closed. If you go through there, you're not going to be allowed back in. So go back where you came from because the Turkish borders are closed because of the cholera epidemic. And we won't let you back in. It's a no-man's land with wolves and snakes and no water and no food. You will die. don't go. It was just sunset. He said, we're closing our post in 1 minute. What are you going to do? And I was with 2 others who decided to hitchhike part of the way with me. And I said, we'll go. He said, then you will die. And we're not responsible. And we went through into the no man's land, and the gates, big iron gates slapped shut with barbed wire, and the guards with machine guns stood. And then I realized I just made a big mistake. Hitchhiked through Turkey, and hitchhiked through Iran. I hitchhiked into Afghanistan, which was the poorest country I had ever seen in my life. But in those days, the people were the most hospitable, the most generous, and kind. Of course, a lot of them were stoned on hashish. But they were really nice people. They just let me in their homes. They were so simple and loving. From Istanbul to the border of India took me 3 months. From London to Greece took me 3 months. It was a 6-month hitchhike. I can honestly say now when I take that journey from London to India, it takes 8 hours. The same journey took me 6 months. The airplane appears to be safer, but not near as scenic, and not near as life-changing. In those 3 months it took me to get across overland to India, I honestly felt that I had aged about 30 years. I was not at all anymore a teenager coming from the suburbs of Chicago. I had learned many things, beautiful things, and some of the ugliest, most horrible things I've ever experienced in life. But I felt it all helped me to come closer to God. I remember my first day. I was sitting on the bank of the river Ganges, meditating and praying in a very, very secluded place. There was nobody else around. On one side were beautiful foothill mountains of Himalayas. On another side, I saw some yogis sitting in trance. I found a cave in the jungle where I lived. I lived in many caves. I would say this was a 2-star cave among caves. And every day I sat on a rock in the middle of the Ganges. And from sunrise to sunset I meditated. And I prayed. From there I went to live with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi in his world headquarters in Rishikesh. I had lived with Swami Rama during my travels, Swami Krishna, Swami Satchidananda, J. Krishnamurti. And I went through Himalayas, and I went down to Varanasi, where I sat on the bathing ghats, watching bodies, the burning ghats, watching bodies burn from sunrise to sunset, trying to understand the truth of death. Because I had this thought, unless I really understand what death is, I'll never really understand what life is. I hitchhiked. In India, hitchhiking was jumping through the window of a third-class train. You had to jump through when the train was still moving fast, because by the time the train stopped, it was too packed with people for anyone to get in, including ticket collectors, so it was free. So I went to Bombay, and I took a meditation course there. And one day after the meditation course, I started walking. I didn't know where I was going. That was basically my itinerary, because I never knew where I was going. But I felt I was going toward God. So I was walking and walking for hours, and I was in downtown, and somehow or other I looked up at a stoplight and I saw a big sign that said Spiritual Festival at Cross Maidan Park. So I thought, this is wonderful. A spiritual festival, I'll go. It was a gigantic tent. And I was there. I saw some people singing, some books on display. And as the evening approached, 25 to 30,000 people assembled in this huge tent to hear the Guru. And I was very shy in those days. Actually, I still am, but somehow or other I pretend I'm not. I was way in the back corner. Tens and thousands of people. And the Guru came on the stage. It looked so beautiful. He had shaved head and saffron robes. He walked with the grace of a swan, with the certainty of a king, and with the humility of one who was seeing God. He sat down as his students were singing kirtan, spiritual songs. And I remember thinking, I really would like to get closer, because he was so far away I could hardly see him. But I was so shy, I felt I'm not worthy of stepping in front of anyone else, so I just sat there. Then I saw this saintly person call over one of his followers and speak something to him, and that follower was looking for about 5 minutes, and then started motioning for someone to come, but nobody came, so he came down off the stage, started walking through thousands and thousands of people to the very back of the crowd, walked right up to me and said, Srila Prabhupada wants you to sit with him on the stage.